This is GEEZBEEZ at Noala Bee Company, and I just last week got into the hives for the first time in spring, and I wanted to explain a few things to you about why we feed bees and what's going on during that process of going into winter and coming out into spring. Right before winter, usually have a fall flow, and you usually leave a lot of that honey on for them. And this year we did not have hardly any fall flow, and therefore they didn't have very many stores going into winter. So what I did is I made sugar cakes, which is just sugar and water mixed, and the cakes are put into a feeder shim. There's different ways of doing it, but it's basically turns into a hard candy-like substance. And it's kind of an insurance policy for them to make sure if they did not have enough stores to get through winter, that they've got something to carry them on through into spring. And so that's why we put those on. And normally I put them on about the end of November, to where, you know, if you put it on right off, they have a tendency to move on up to it, and a lot of times they'll skip their honey, or they'll really just eat your sugar cake up. And so we do that, and then coming into spring, when we check those, we've left them alone all winter, and you know, so that we don't freeze them out, and they're in there staying warm, and they've got sugar to keep their energy up. Then we go in and kind of access it right towards spring and make sure they have enough sugar to go into spring, because you lose a lot of your bees in the month of March, because they're getting out, they're flying, they're using a lot of energy, and they still don't have anything coming in as far as pollen and nectar. So what I'll do is, when it gets close to spring, or right at the start of spring, when you're getting some weather that's in the 60s, sometimes if I'll have a week of 60s to 70s, I will feed them sugar water, and that's when I put pollen patties on, so that kind of their brood rearing starts up, because they think they've got plenty of food coming in, they've got pollen coming in, and then about the time your first pollens start coming in, they will stop taking your pollen patties. And they really like natural products over anything man-made. So they'll stop taking that, and they'll stop taking the sugar water also, once they start getting a good nectar flow. So that just helps kind of getting into spring and getting them out until the natural food sources come available for them. Thank you. There's the pollen patties we'll be putting on today. I've never used them. It's the first year to use these, so I'll let you know how they take them. All right, getting into this first hive to see kind of what we've got. The very first hive next to me was a late swarm that I caught. And it looks like they made it until this last cold snap, because they were still going before last week. So let's see what we've got going on here. Got a little nectar in here. A little bit of pollen. A little bit of brood going on. Haven't seen the queen yet, but she's definitely in there. little bit of brood on this frame, not much. They are very light. So we are going to put some feed on today. That I bought at the Hive Life Conference this year. I've never used it. I'm going to put this side down that's got the holes in it. And it looks fairly pliable. We'll move on to the next one. This is Gary again. I was out in the yard the other day. I was working on these hives and I forgot that my battery was running a little bit low. And so I got through about 5 or 6 hives. There's 14 hives here. The rest of the hives that I went through, all were about the same. 3, maybe 4 frames of bees. All of them were brooding up. Now when I got to my hives that had the double deeps, they had a few more bees and a little bit more brood. I went ahead and put pollen patties on, the global pollen patties, and I went ahead and left the sugar cakes on. We might have another round of lower temperatures this upcoming week, so I wanted to leave them on. Some of them were pretty light, a little bit of honey in some, but most were pretty light, didn't have hardly any stores. Maybe just a little bit of pollen. So I went ahead and also put the Hive Alive sugar water on, and I'm trying it out. I refilled it again this morning, and you can see that they're taking it really well. They're all have been just taking it now for about 3 or 4 days. It's turned out really well. So just wanted to let you know what I found, opening them up the first time for the spring. And hopefully the pollen patties will get them reared up a little bit on their brooding, and we'll be ready for spring splits. Thank you. If you enjoyed this video, give me a thumbs up, like and subscribe. I really appreciate it. Thank you.